Hey there, this is Jeff. Looking at Alexey's AZSlow controller. I have it set up. I have the alpha track plugged in here. You can see under devices, there's the alpha track. You can see under controllers and surfaces, I have the AZ controller, I have the alpha track. It is this version 222, and this is the path. This version has a bunch of nice changes. In order to make sure you get the changes, you have to come in here, click Options, Tweak Configuration, and choose Alpha Track. It allows you to set the course and percent per tick and find percent per tick. Create preset. Now you're rolling. You can hit save. Yeah. Close. We can take a quick look at pan movement. So my device not working. I am reopening. There we go, now it's working. Sorry for the troubles. And when I click on, okay, so we're going to start with the pan. Pan works great. There's the course, moving at 10% per click. Now I press the button once and release, and now when I move it, it moves at 1%. Press again and release, and now it's back to 10%. Now let's say I managed to get it off, and now I can't get it quite. Oh, look, it still hits 0. Once you cross 0, it seems to center on 0. That's pretty cool. Okay, but let's say I wanted to center it on 0. I could just press and hold the knob and release, and it goes back to 0. So that's handy. The faders. The fader is working really excellently. When I move the fader, there's very little noticeable motorized action after I release the fader, which is good. Obviously, if I flick the fader, is because it only matters, you have to be touching the fader for it to work. So if I flick the fader with my fingernail, it moves, and then the motor moves it back, which is as it should be. So you have to touch the fader to move it, and then it moves it and stays where it should. Click the record button. Record enables, shift record, disables all if anything's enabled, shift record, enables all, shift solo, shift mute. Oh, interesting. Shift mute is setting solo on every track. Solo turns off and on particular selected tracks. Shift solo turns off and on all tracks. Interesting. Once I have so the mute button seems to be doing the same thing as the solo button when the shift button is pressed, which is interesting. So that looks like a bug. So the loop button turns looping on and off. The play button plays. Double back. Let's see if I put my now time out here. I'll do it with the mouse and do shift back. That takes me to the beginning of the loop section, or to home, return to 0. Alexey noted that you can add a new marker at 0, and now if you use the pan pot to move between the markers, you can move back to 0 using the pan pot. You can use the track thing to move between the different tracks themselves. Interestingly, how cool. I can scroll between the tracks, and the fader doesn't try to update until I release the knob, so that's really excellent. The fader's not jumping around as I move between track and track. If I now click on the EQ button, I'm going to click it twice and go to the high pass filter. For this, I'm going to use touch to just open up the fly out EQ and pin it. So I've got the high pass. I'm going to click it once, and it's already enabled, so I can enable and disable using the center pan pot. Once it's enabled, when I turn it, it used to move by 1 dB increments, which Sonar doesn't accept. Sonar only allows you to move it by 6 dB increments, and it's working great for that. The frequency is working great. I hit EQ again. I can switch between the different EQ types. I can change to a different band. Oops. So here I am on the low band, and now I can move the low band up and down. I can change the gain. It's working really awesome. If I click and then turn, I get very fine grain. Click again, I get thick grain, coarse grain. Same thing with these pots. I can just use touch to turn on the gloss if I want. So I'll go back and try a different one. We'll go try the low pass filter. And that is working perfectly too. If I switch back and go back to high mid, I was curious. I believe that I managed to cause a dropout using one hand. One of my questions, so this is something that I thought was interesting, and let's go ahead and switch to fine grain for this. Look how I'm only changing the frequency, but it looks like the gain is dipping in and out here as I scroll the EQ notch. It doesn't work when it is above 0. So above 0 it looks always like it's got the right gain, and it doesn't really matter which of the EQ types you use. They all look the same there. So there you go. We can switch on the shelf and come down here, and we'll play. Why don't we play with the high shelf? And we'll mess around with that. And that seems to be working fine. So now let's see if we can cause a dropout on the for the controller by changing values real fast, and see how long it takes me and how hard I have to work at it to get the MIDI device to disconnect, which it has for me repeatedly in the past with other versions of the driver. This time it's quite hard. I'm changing the values a lot. How about if I switch one of them to be fine, and now I'm trying to see if I can cause a dropout. So we'll go back to course. Let's try a different one. We'll switch to low mid. There we go. So we got it to drop out, but we had to work at it pretty hard. And in order to get it to recover, I can just tap yes there, and I'm back in business. And now hit play, and I'm playing. Oh, look at that, play again, stops it. That's excellent. So really, the only thing I noticed is that shift mute doesn't mute enable all tracks, which is handy because then you can unmute just the tracks you're interested in. But I think this is really getting there. Bravo, Alexey. And that's what I got to show today. Hope you're doing well. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching.